Up next, we have Discovering What Drives You by Noah. He is a student very interested in electronics, and he started his own YouTube channel, which now has 9,000 subscribers and over 350 videos posted on how to do programming. So give a hand for Noah.
All right, thank you. Before I begin, I just want to thank the Young Innovators Fair for having me here and Digital Media Academy for allowing me to speak on their behalf. I'm here representing Digital Media Academy, and our booth is right behind you, so I'll be there all day. Definitely check us out. So the title of my presentation is Discovering What Drives You. I should mention I'm 17 years old. I'm a junior at Lower Merion High School, and I really like programming. That's what I like to do a lot. But in order to get there, it takes a couple of steps. You have to start from somewhere and get there. Of course, you start with no prior knowledge, and you work your way up. So the first step to discovering what you want to do, be it programming or robotics or whatever it is you have to find your passion. And the fact that you're all here today at the Young Innovators Fair means that you've already done this. You've already discovered that you have an interest in programming or robotics or art or music or video games or whatever it is that you came here to learn more about. So you have found your passion. For me, it began at a very young age. That's me, couple, 5, 6 years old on a computer. It began at a young age when my parents set me up in the basement with their old desktop computer running Windows 98. They gave me full access to the computer, they gave me the administrator account, and they basically let me do what I wanted. So in addition to, checking out Word and figuring out how to type and click buttons and format everything, I also played around with the settings, which is something that most parents would never let their kids do. But I got to play around with the settings and sort of understand how a computer works and, how the back end works, and, you change one setting and something happens, and all of that kind of information. So to the parents, if you have an old computer or an old electronic device, I'd recommend, giving it to your child. Maybe you can disable the internet card. I know it's different now than 10 years ago with the internet, but giving them the ability to discover the computer on their own is really important. That's what will spark the passion. Okay, so at this point I have a passion for computers. And it's now that I decide I think programming would be cool, because programming, it allows you to make things for the computer. I like using the computer, and having the ability to control it would be very cool. So the next step is taking the first step. And the first step for me was a program called Multimedia Fusion 2 by ClickTeam. They have a booth here, and I'd recommend checking them out. But this is one of the many tools available to introduce programming. On the front end, you have sort of a drag and drop interface, so you can, you can drag in your scene, all of your enemies and everything, instead of having to write lines of code and, hope that it works. This is the coding aspect. It's not writing any code, there's no words or anything, but it essentially works like an action and a reaction. So on the left you'll see a bunch of actions, like for example, if someone clicks a button, or if 5 seconds have elapsed, or if someone goes to a certain scene in your game, then you'd respond in a certain way. So, if your player collides with an enemy, then you'd go to the game over screen. If 5 seconds elapse, maybe you'll start the game. Something like that. And this program, other programs like this, there are programs like Scratch and Game Salad and plenty other ones. The reason why they're so great is they do two things for you. They make you think like a programmer, and they give you results. And what I mean by that is that I'm not writing any actual code. I'm not actually programming, but I'm thinking about how a program works, how there's an action and a reaction. You're waiting for some event to happen, and then you're doing something specific. The idea that all of these different things have properties. If I have the player character, I can get their position, or their color, or the image. And all of these concepts are really important when you start to write actual code. In addition, it gives you results. If I were to sit down and start working on, let's say, Java or C++ or an actual programming language, I might get frustrated or not really understand what I'm doing, and then I might get bored of it or frustrated and not want to continue. So the fact that it gives you results shows you what you can do with a computer, so that when you get into the real code, which is more difficult, you're more willing to do more difficult things and put more time in, because you can see all of the different things that will happen. So it's around this time now, a couple years later, I start getting bored of Multimedia Fusion. It's a great program, but you can only do so much with it. You can only make desktop programs for Windows. You can't do anything with web, you can't do anything for Mac, and it's fairly simplistic. It's also around this time that Minecraft becomes popular. I guess I come into the age group where Minecraft is popular. And my favorite feature about Minecraft is that you can run a Minecraft server. You can turn any computer into a server that your friends can join, and you can all play together on the same world. The especially cool thing about it is something called Bucket. Bucket is a special kind of Minecraft server that allows you to make plugins, and plugins are chunks of code that let you add features to Minecraft. You can add mini games to a server, you can add different commands, different features. There's a lot of different things you can do with Bucket. But in order to do this, in order to make plugins for Minecraft, you need to know Java, because Minecraft is written in Java, and so is Bucket, and if you want to make plugins, then you need to know Java. And Java is a real programming language. You know, you're writing actual text, and you can't just pick it up immediately. So I go to Digital Media Academy, and I take a 5-day course, the Introduction to Java class, and it gives the fundamentals. It'll show you information about, variables and conditional statements and loops and all of those different things. The important fundamental concepts. It doesn't go everywhere, but it gives you a good basis. And that's where I figured out that I really did like programming, and I wanted to continue. My final project was a very simple Minecraft server plugin. It would allow you to heal or kill your friends by using a command. It wasn't terribly advanced, it wasn't terribly hard to do, but it was something that I did, and it was great, and I knew that I wanted to continue with it. So I continued with it, and throughout the months, maybe it was 6-8 months, I continued learning Java. I learned most of the rest of Java by that point. I learned a lot of Bucket through a combination of YouTube and exploration, and then I decided that I wanted to start my YouTube channel, which was mentioned before. I wanted to go back and teach programming. I wanted to teach Bucket coding, the Minecraft server coding. So I wanted to start Minecraft coding. So I put my first video up. It was, an introduction, getting your computer set up to be able to develop plugins. And I didn't really know everything at this point, but the important thing was that making the channel actually gave me a lot of motivation. Because I didn't know everything about Bucket, and I didn't know everything about Minecraft, but when I went to make a next video, I always did them all off the top of my head. I never wrote a script. I knew what I wanted to talk about and how I wanted to show it, but I never wrote anything down. I just talked off my head. So if I couldn't explain a concept very well off the top of my head, then I had to go in and learn it and experiment with it and make sure that I understood it before I went to show it off. And especially when someone would request a specific video, if it's something that I never did before, it would give me the motivation to go learn it and do it. So at this point, it was said I have about 9,000 subscribers, over 1 million views across all the videos. There's 350 videos. They're all about coding. A lot of them are about Minecraft, but I do have Java and other languages in addition. So feel free to check it out. And now it's the third step. So at this point, I've been running my channel for a while, and I still do run it to this day. But I've been running the channel for a while, and that was back in 2013 when I started it. And now I'm pretty good at Java. I think I know all of the syntax and the methods and all of the things that you need to know in there. And I was pretty good at Bucket, and then I kind of started getting bored again. Because Bucket, again, only lets you do so much. It gives you a lot of code that's already written, and it gives you an interface for interacting with your users. They're on Minecraft, they're playing the game, and all of that stuff. But I wanted to go back to making, desktop applications or websites, but this time using actual code. So I opened up Eclipse, which is the Java program, or the program for writing Java code. I opened a new file, and I really didn't know what to do. Because when you start with something like Bucket, it gives you so much code that you know how it works. But if you want to start from scratch, then it's different. So I had to learn, how do you display information, how do you read information, and all of those different things. So through that, I essentially learned the rest of Java, or how to do Java without Minecraft related stuff, and then eventually I learned making graphics programs, little games, and whatever. And that kind of brings me to the third step, which is to go deeper. So at this point, I'm good in Java. I'm pretty good in Java, and I'm good in Minecraft. But now I want to expand and I want to do more. And there's in addition to the YouTube channel, there's 2 ways that I've done that. First is last summer of 2015, I went to Digital Media Academy and I worked there as a teaching assistant for 6 weeks. And 2 of those weeks were teaching Java. So I taught an intermediate Java course and an advanced Java course. And it was pretty cool that after 4 years, I went from being in the class and not knowing anything to being able to teach the class. And that was a really great experience and it was a lot of fun. And in addition to that, once you know one language, it becomes exponentially easier to learn other languages. Because if you understand all of the concepts, if you know what a for loop is, if you know what polymorphism is, if you know what all of those things are, you don't need to relearn them. You just need to learn how to express them in other languages. So from Python, from Java, I moved on to Python, which is a scripting language, Swift, which is Apple's new language for developing iPhone apps. I'm decent at that. HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, which is for web front end. So when you visit a web page, the stuff that you see is that. And PHP is a web backend. So when you go to log into a website, or you update your profile on Facebook, or you store a cart, items in your cart from Amazon, that's all on the back end connected to a database. So that's all of the stuff that I've learned. And it's easier because once you know a language, it's a lot easier to learn other languages. So to wrap up, there are basically 3 steps to where I am today. And they really apply to anything, but they definitely apply to any field in STEM or art or any of the reasons why you're here. You have to find your passion, which I think that all of you have done. You figure out what you're really interested in. Then you want to take the first step. You want to start small. You don't want to dive straight into the deep end. You want to start small and work your way up. And once you're in a good place, you want to go deeper and expand your knowledge. And that third step really doesn't end because, especially in something like programming or electronics, everything's always changing all the time. So you always need to be keeping up, expanding your knowledge, learning new things, and all of that. So to wrap up, again, I want to thank Digital Media Academy. The booth is right over there behind all of you. I'll be over there for the rest of the day and all of tomorrow. So if you have any questions or comments, you can let me know. And thank you for hearing me.